Okay,
Wait, which one was mine?
this is yours.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so welcome.
Welcome, hello.
Hello, yeah, thanks for joining. Maybe I tell you a little bit about what I'm doing,
Yeah,
and then we can move to some questions that I have for you.
yeah.
Yeah, so as you know, I studied Codarts. Fourth year, I studied with Josue,
Mm-hmm.
and I received the research fund.
You studied with
called-
Josue?
No, I studied with Hans, but
Hans-
he's tired
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I know, I heard.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that Josue took over his part.
And
Nice.
they opened up this project where they give now research funds for students for 5,000 euros and for teachers for 10,000 euros.
Oh,
So you can apply as an extra project outside what you do normally in the curriculum.
so you got 5,000.
So I got 5,000, but it's not for me. I mean, apart for my working hours,
Yeah.
but for technology or people, other people for you, blah, blah.
Nice, congrats.
Thanks. And my project is how can I raise ecological awareness through a multidisciplinary performance.
Uh-huh.
So I will have electronic music, I will have acoustic music, circus art, and the plant that generates music.
Yeah, like through electric signals.
Yeah.
Nice. Why circus and all the other things? Just to ask.
Because I like the relation between sound and movement.
Huh.
And I worked with dancers before, and I wanted to try a new department.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why circus.
So like nothing directly related with ecological thought.
No.
Okay.
But we can take it to that level if we want. We can, for example, have a performance in nature without electricity or with solar panels, but without consuming electricity from the grid.
So like, yeah,
you
like
can
zero emission.
zero emission. Also, my idea is to use biomaterials and bio concepts in the score. So
What is that? Like,
I can use this in my score, so they can use this as objects to manipulate the circus artist.
so like biodegradable or
Yeah,
just anything, yeah.
yeah. So there are many ways to implement actually this concept in art. So many angles. You are the 9th person that I'm talking to right now. So I kind of see a lot of perspectives already.
What kind of people, like from which practices did you talk to?
I talked to two biologists. One was a plant biologist, and he told me about how plants behave, work, the electricity system in them. And the other was geneticist, and he told me about genes that work the same in animal, plants, and humans.
Yeah.
So I talked to a circus teacher. She told me about how to make a workshop for artists.
Yeah.
I talked to a choreographer. He told me about patterns in nature that he simulates in his choreography, like trees or rocks, stuff like that. I talked to someone someone who is member of a gardening association. Yeah.
More in everyday life.
Yeah, everyday life, so society. And I have this perspective: scientific, artistic, social, and technological, because I also make use of technology.
Any like ecological thinkers or like something like that?
Mm-hmm. Ecological thinkers in general. You mean like?
I mean like more from like a philosophy or from academic side, like.
No.
That are like ecological, like the ecology.
Well, I interviewed.
How do you call them?
Sorry. Like philosophers or essayists or these kind of things.
Are like focused only on ecology.
Not so much, but I'm reading my own stuff, and I met two people who have a sustainable house that they built with solar panels and wood and recycled materials. Wood.
Like the instrument.
Wood.
Oh, wood.
Yeah. And they are like the most sustainable in area in Zeeland.
In the Netherlands.
The Netherlands, yeah, and they told me about what they do and how they do gardening, how they use compost, how they use recycling, how they have electric car, how they generate electricity and give it back to the grid, stuff like that. So it was a bit what you say, but not theory, but practice.
Yeah. I mean, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Much better sometimes than the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Basically this is what I do. I collected data, I analyzed it, and now I implement it. And Josue recommended me to talk to you because you also had this fund, and you also are interested in underwater sounds.
Yeah.
So,
but not only underwater sounds, because I thought since Rene got us in contact, maybe he mentioned you my research project because it's also related a bit.
They both mentioned your project.
Both?
Yeah,
okay,
that's
okay.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you tell me about your project that you're doing, and
yeah, sure. I think two of my projects, or maybe they're all together, but they somehow related to like what you are researching or touching that area. Like with the underwater sounds project that is in the Port of Rotterdam, which is about to finish, by the way, so that's nice. Like what I did was I was inspired like to experiment with hydrophones, and then I couldn't find myself one to buy, so I thought, I can make one instead. Because you know Jana Vinderen, this underwater field recordist from Norway. She did a workshop in Russell once that I was part of. Josue was also there. And then she thought like, you can do your DIY hydrophones. Well, I didn't know how to do, but then I checked on the internet. And then no one had this design specifically, but I found this. This is not called T, but
cross.
Yeah, maybe T, maybe a cross PVC tube. So I had two piezos, like these ones from AliExpress, just like the 10-cent golden version. And since I had this one, I thought it's a bit nonsense to maybe just put one there, like why don't I experiment with making it stereo? And even though, like in underwater, you don't have stereo, it's mono, because of the matter that the sound vibrates in. Like it's not like it's not like air that we can sense a direction. I mean, you can still sense a direction in underwater, but it doesn't work exactly like in the air because of the matter differences. But then I made this design like, it's improvised design. I didn't plan it beforehand. Like this. So you put like two jack cables, and then one points this direction, then the other one points this. But that's why it's not stereo. Like even though this points to here, this doesn't, since it's a contact mic, it doesn't get the air vibrations from there. But,
no.
Instead it's water vibrations that just touch it. And you don't get a sense of the directionality that much. Instead, what's happening around here. And since they are already touching the same thing, they get both of them. They get the same. So it's mostly mono. But when it's on the floor, like on the ground of the water, for instance, a wave or a sound or a fish comes in from here and then to here. So if it's really close, you can get the sense of stereo underwater. So that's something new. And this is like glued with an epoxy inside.
Yeah.
And
what is this? An anchor?
Yeah, this is. Well, my dad is my like not a fisherman. I mean, he's a retired teacher. But the only thing that he does in summer is fishing. So when I wanted to do this, he was like so excited to help me as well. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Because basically this is like fishing equipment for the fishing hook to get soak underwater. Because since it's plastic, this is just gonna float up and not gonna get down. So we had to tie something like this so that it goes down. But it goes down. The good thing with this, compared to like proper hydrophones that you buy, is that, that's something that I found, and I'm just not pitching it. But in the normal hydrophone, you would have it like this.
Yeah.
And then There is one here in the technical department.
Okay, thanks.
What would happen is like it would like sink down and then sit on the ground on the like whether it's a rocky surface or a sandy stuff. But what you get is like how do you call it? Not wind, the waves, making it move on the ground.
Yeah.
And that thus you pick up a lot of like these like friction, these movements that this makes instead of the real sound.
I get
with
it.
this, since this goes onto the surface, this just
Stays
floats
there.
on top,
Okay.
and then you can get like a more slightly clearer sound. Yeah. So accidentally, it works. I think, in my opinion, better than the ones that you can buy.
The one for 300 euros that you can get.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, its range is much less than that. It's not as sensitive as those ones.
But you said it's
but I
better.
think in practice, if you are just doing it on the shores and easygoing places, I think it works for me better and cleaner sound-wise.
Yeah. How did you connect the mini jacks?
Well, it's just
No, it's not mini jack. It's
normal
jack. Yeah.
It's normal jacks, and then you connect it, and then you just like leak it there.
But how is it connected there? This is my question.
Like this.
So they're soldered
Yeah, they are soldered to the PL.
to the
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I use this in the recordings that I did.
Yeah.
And I researched as well also the underwater sounds, and I was focused on like how the sonic pollution in Port of Rotterdam affects the marine life, and not only the marine life but in general the life, the ecosystem that it covers. But I didn't want to make like a academic research on like sonic pollution and underwater sounds. Like I'm not the person that like I feel entitled to do exactly like how the Port of Rotterdam affects the marine life. Like, I mean, how can I measure with my like? I'm not a scientist, that much. I mean, I can gather information, of course, which I did. Learn pretty interesting stuff actually. About the sonic pollution. So apparently most of the fishes they chose where to lay eggs on based on sound, and if there is like a lot of noise material around, like loud noise material, they choose not to lay eggs there, and instead they go for like a quiet, more safe, to a place that they feel safer, and that's where they lay eggs. But since the port is always making this hum of low rumble, they just not go there anymore and lay eggs here. And another thing which was surprising is that apparently some fishes, reefs, and marine greens, like marine
Algae.
not only algae, but how do you call it?
Zooplankton.
No.
Seaweed.
Yeah, something like seaweed. Yeah. But like type of seaweed, they get attached to the side of the ships.
Yeah.
For instance, let's say in Brazil, and then they bring all those seaweeds and marine thing that is endemic for those places to here.
Oh,
and then
that's bad.
They bring the ones from here to there. So they basically just mix up all these endemic things that are maybe not poisonous but not used to the area.
Yeah.
So there is a whole very fast catalyzation.
How did you discover this? You read about it, I suppose.
I talked with a marine biologist who was working on Rotterdam's port. Sonic pollution.
I get it.
Yeah. So exactly on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then artistically, Like I did the recordings and also not only underwater but above water, and wanted to make a piece out of it. But the recordings are very boring. Like it's just very boring recordings. So I thought, hey, how can I make like at a certain point I wasn't excited to make the piece. I was like, okay, I done the part, but now comes the part that I have to at least do something about it, present something, and I wanted to make music. But then there was nothing in the recordings that like took my interest.
No. Maybe we can
Not
show
really.
one.
Yeah. I can show you some stuff. Where's my field recordings folder? Oh, here. Oh no, this is not the underwater ones. Here. Yeah, so I chose and like filtered the ones that are more usable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh yeah, these are fishes, by the way. The clicks.
In Rotterdam port.
No, this is not normal.
Sounds like the
Fire.
The fire.
Yeah,
crack,
but it's
yeah.
fishes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fishes like, and then I was like,
Because
oh,
of the contact mic, no? Because it
no,
captures
because the
this way.
fish makes this sound.
I know, but I mean, it sounds this way because it's contact mic. It's not like super sensitive microphone to hear the water more properly.
Oh, but even with the sounds that BBC records with the high expensive microphones,
It's the
it's the same sound. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I was confused. So most of the sounds that I have about marine life was about like these clicks, and nothing else.
Watery sound, no?
Not really, because if it's under the water, there's no sound of the water. If it's on the shore, you have the sound of the water, which I use as well. But then I thought, okay, how can I make this somehow interesting? And the only thing that fascinated me was like these clicks and the rhythms that these clicks have. Because if you listen to it for so many times, at certain point there comes like parts that you realize, oh shit, there's a like a click pattern that gets repeated again and again, like birds in the that you hear like like you hear the bird and then there's another one, and then you have the similar things in the fishes, like you have a rhythm like this and then a something like this, and then which get like you hear it 5 more times maybe, and then they interpolate or just overlap. So I thought, maybe I should focus on the rhythms because that's what took my interest. And I did it from this angle because I can't know what it means for the fishes at all. Like
No.
I'm a human person. I look at it subjectively, and also ecologically. Okay, I maybe more related to your question, like the decisions that I made in the process about like what I'm gonna do, is also related a lot with how I feel about ecology, or philosophically what I think humans can do, or why are we concerned with the subject. Like for instance, if there was no human on this planet, there wouldn't be any term like ecology, or sustainability, because like sustainability is sustainability for us.
For us.
Exactly.
Not
like,
for the environment itself.
No, the environment is gonna sustain itself anyway. Like it's much
will
more
continue.
Yeah, it's much more powerful than us. Like that's for sure. Like just Chernobyl is the best example, I think. So what we are trying to do by like saving the world or saving the planet Earth and being more ecological is saving ourselves, our futures of better cohabiting the environment. I think it's a bit like cynical way of looking at. But I mean, not only in policy making, because I think that's very important, or research, or yeah, or documentation as well. But like making art, like I see like so many ecological like gallery works, like fine art, or like not much in music, but mostly in like fine arts, or what else? Yeah, I think mostly there. It's like just it's or sometimes in sound art as well. Uh, but there is no relation to ecology. Like I mean, it's just a representative way of like saying, "Hey, I like nature. We should take care more."
And paint some trees.
Yeah, or like just like yeah, something like that. Exactly. Or just put the sounds of water, or just make people listen to the sounds of birds in the tropical forest, and like, oh, how beautiful is it?
It's
Or
ecological art.
yeah, it's ecological art. It's like
Yeah.
a greenwashing, or take the data of all the temperature and like different signature
And make
changes
music with it.
and make like map it to algorithms, and then oh, this generative I don't know, like a machine learning algorithm is working entirely on ecological patterns, and okay, but so what? Like, what does it have to do with ecology in itself? Like, it's just a representation what they do in the end. So I didn't want to do something like that, like just like looking at fishes and like
Yeah.
just hey, here's them. But instead, like I more I don't know if it's a better way or not, but try to find like what takes me my interest there, because there wasn't many things that they did, only the rhythms of these clicks. So I decided to make it more focused on highlighting that aspect of like, hey, there's something very interesting going on with the fishes. They have this rhythm thing. Maybe they don't know, but to me it feels like they know, or there is something there with the rhythms, because not pitch relation doesn't change. And I can guess why, because they just pop bubbles or something like this. Yeah, so I chopped like tiny particles uh, from their clicks, and like made like 200 samples of fish clicks, which I will share as a sample pack if anyone wants to use.
Nice.
But it's like most of the samples are just like 1 second or 3 seconds or 5, so not like long. And then I thought people who are getting affected by this whole system of mass logistics, so the port and the ports around the world, is not only the fishes, but also the humans who work in the ships, who are like who can't get off the ships or the water for maybe 320 days a year, and they have to always fight with the nature. Like to be and work within the nature, they always have to fight against the nature, against the water that makes the ship rusty. All the parts of the ship has to go into maintenance all the time. That's why people are there, and then they have to fight with the nausea, the time schedule differences, the loneliness, and everything. So they're basically like getting good money, but also stuck and fighting with the nature just to be able to make the system work. And no one knows about them. Like no one hears about. Hey, like you see the ships and all the containers, but like
all the food in Albert Heijn,
yeah,
but
all
you
the
don't
food
know
in
where it's coming
Albert Heijn,
from.
but there are like 20 people on all the ships mostly, or maybe more, that work constantly.
Enslaved, basically.
Well, not enslaved, like they
Not
get
in
good
that
money.
sense, in the
Yeah.
traditional sense, but
Yeah, but they make
trapped,
themselves
let's say.
slave to the logistics system, logistics sector, and also the nature, because logistics sector don't want nature to interfere with that, but it does, because what can you do about it?
No.
Yeah, and so I decided to also focus on the mariners, the marine merchants, as they call it, and their experiences on like what it is to be in the ship or in the water, in the open water, but as a human, like what they fight against, because like if we want to look for like better cohabitation and like better listening, I think it's a bit of like conscious padding, that I'm just like focusing on the fishes and the coral reefs, and then okay. But I mean, there's also a human issue there about, and probably many more that I didn't know of. I just looked at these two. And there was this amazing short film, from a marine merchant who is also an artist. I can send you that if you want. It's super nice. He documents his life as a marine merchant, very artistically. I must say, very good. So I actually wanted to make something like this, like get the diaries of the marine merchants and make like a vocal story out of it. But then there was something like that already, which was way better than what I would imagine to do. So I decided, maybe not. I'm not gonna do something like that because it already exists. So what I did was I asked ChatGPT and also myself. Like I did it as well, to write like a dream of a mariner. Like what would a dream of a mariner would be like.
Yeah.
And now like I'm using that text to go in with the musical work, but more about the ecology and the sustainability, cohabitation. Like apart from this work, which is not mostly on research but more on practice, or just artistic practice. Like the artistic research that I'm doing is more on how sound can invade. Okay, it's more focused on borders, like how sound operates on borders, but also how our lack of control on sound, or especially in like the public sound, can allow us to better listen to the other, or can allow us to better cross those borders, whether political borders, social borders, or gendered bathrooms, or like whatever, or borders between like human life, non-human life, like all the sentience, or just opposing political parties as well. So how we can use sound, which is in itself something that is not linear, right? Like sound, like it's not like, oh, good that we have an apple to talk about something like Newtonian. That like if we throw this,
if about the gravity, or
no, not about the gravity, but like for instance, if I'm talking about sound crossing this border of this wall, and then if I throw this, and let's say the window was open, it would cross the border of the school walls, which make this part, which creates or facilitates a certain kind of loop fold in this movement of this space. And also, like, so now this is private for us, but if I like throw this apple outside the window and it goes to public, it's a public space that I'm inhabiting that inhabits a different kind of space. So there are like different borderings in position. But this is true only if it are like these crossing borders, or let's say I'm in, I don't know, like in, where is the, like I'm in Texas and I'm throwing an apple to Mexico.
Yeah.
And indeed the apple would cross the border because it literally does.
Yeah.
But in sound's case, it's not true actually, because sound is not something linear. It doesn't travel like that. It's just like vibrates the air.
Yeah.
And if it comes to a point of like conflict, or like an obstacle comes in front, like it doesn't just go back, but it also vibrates the thing that creates that border. And depending on the surface, it whether it goes through and with a different sound, different like maybe it's like a high cut filter and some dampening of and less volume. So indeed, it's not like linear. That it has this different way of operating in the matter, also in underwater. Yeah. So now I'm like trying to read and focus on aspects that how I can play with this musically and sound wise to invade people's spaces
Yeah.
through sound, because that's what sound does. Like you can shut your ears to it. Your body vibrates to it if it's like a very low sound or very powerful. So now I'm thinking of, or in the process of making a work with the air sirens, the ones that get played in Monday.
And you are operating with this for your project now. And
Yeah.
when are you going to be ready with the whole thing?
No, I'm just now focusing on the idea of doing something with it. I'm not yet if I will do something with the air sirens.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking of like using the air sirens that get used on Mondays. So let's say in one neighborhood I will use the air sirens, or I will get myself air sirens, the one with the air pressure, and then like I can't intervene with the air siren because it's like illegal as well. But let's say the air siren started in the neighborhood of here, or maybe to be safer, maybe another neighborhood.
Yeah.
And just when it was about to stop, a piece that I made using the air sirens, which is clearly more musical or pleasing, starts for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then all the residents, willingly or unwillingly, is forced to listen to that sound or music.
And what do you want to say with that?
Well, I don't want to say specifically anything, but I want to do it first and then understand and theorize like what it means. What like who controls the sound, I think, and also what happens to like the ownership of the sound, like whose sound is that, and what it means to like invade people's private spaces of boundaries of like how they can afford like a quietness or they can't afford a quietness. And more like playing with the notion of this wanted or unwanted sound. Like for instance, one good example is I was in Radio Warm helping with the sound and technical of a radio maker who was interviewing 3 artists in the Netherlands. And in Radio Warm, there's not much good isolation. And the kitchen of the whole place is just next to it. So there's always people in the kitchen talking or making sounds because of the machines, and they come into the microphone and are in the recording as well or in the broadcast. So you always have this kitchen sounds if it's during the day, or people talking. So never very quiet. And then when the whole program ended, the radio maker said like, "Hey, it's nice, but like, do they always like does the sound always like comes this much from the back, like the kitchen sounds? Like I wish they were a bit softer or something." Yeah. I'm like, yeah, they're. I mean, he wasn't complaining, but he was like just saying was I think a bit annoyed by it. Yeah. Because in our understanding of like proper radio format, it's supposed to be quiet, clean, and like very nice. So I said, oh yeah, but it's like you can also see it like a signature of the Radio Warm. Like it's only specific to here that you have these kitchen sounds and discussions that happen in the back, which you can maybe think like a flavor or a spice of ambient background on the radio recording that you do. And I was like, oh yeah, now I like it actually. He was like this, but like at first he was annoyed. Yeah. But just thinking about how you feel about the sounds that are unwanted, that invade your spaces, of how you want maybe quietness or maybe unquietness. You can also want to be loud or crowded in a place that requires silence, like the silent rooms in the trains or silent places in the airplane lounges. Like there are like silent parts. Like Brandon LaBelle has a good book called Acoustic Territories on this, that he talks about how sound and spaces dynamics are. Yeah. And like just before closing up, one of the things that, well, you didn't ask questions, but I'm just talking.
Yeah, that's also fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know Timothy Morton, the philosopher?
No?
He writes a lot about, well, they actually now. They write a lot about, whoa, it's the first time I'm using pronouns correctly.
About walls?
Huh?
He writes about?
Yeah, he is now they. But they write about ecology a lot and about shifting our way of perceiving and like comprehending the world, the existence through a more different magnitude, which he calls Earth magnitude. Has a book called Dark Ecology, which is super nice. And hyper objects, thinking without ecology. He just released the book actually. They just released the book. I think it will be very useful as well. Let's see. What was it again? So, Morton is also like part of this group that, oh yeah, ecology without nature. Oh, and the ecological thought, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Part of a group called like the object-oriented ontology, which is like a part of philosophers or a group of philosophers that come up in the past 10, 15 years that have a way of tackling thinking from a more object-oriented perspective, as the name goes.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I ask you a question then. Yeah. If I want to get watery sounds, how should I do that?
Watery,
yeah, to actually hear the bubbles of the water. To hear this. But under the water, because I can just do this and I get it.
Well, if you wanna hear that under the water, you can make something like this.
Yeah.
And then put it under the water in a place that the waves hit the shore. Because if you do it on the open water, you won't hear any water sounds in the water. Because there is no surface that water can make the sound of itself in far open. You need a sort of external contact to make it happen.
Yeah. And do you think this is as good as a hydrophone from the market? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are some videos about how to make it, I suppose.
Yeah, on the internet, yeah. But if you want to record that sound, just go with a normal microphone.
Yeah.
And then record the waves.
My idea was to have an aquarium or a box filled with water and with a small djembe.
Yeah.
And with a mallet and hit it under the water and hear it amplified somehow. So then maybe this will work.
So put the djembe
in the water.
Then it will be dampened, the sound. It will be like much lower.
It will be dampened, yeah, that's my idea.
Yeah, and the highs will not be there that much.
Just low.
Not
pretty
well,
much.
low mid. Not
mid.
so low as well.
Yeah.
Lows will also be probably cut.
Yeah. So with this I can get that. Maybe.
But if you're putting the djembe in,
you
can, if there is no water inside the djembe, right? You will just put part of the djembe in there.
No, everything. It will be submerged.
All the djembe.
Yeah, so we have this box and it's filled with water and it's like this. And I have the djembe under the water and the guy hitting with the stick.
But if the djembe is under the water, there won't be any sound coming from the djembe.
You think so?
I mean, because there won't be any air inside the djembe anymore.
Yeah, but it will be filled with water and it has this membrane, so it will just hit.
So you will just hear a sound like
a stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not like a djembe sound.
No, that's the idea, to have it modified, but is it a way to get also watery sound embedded in that stroke?
But you won't be able to do the stroke strongly because the water has a resistance.
Yeah, it's just small stroke. It's like...
Yeah, you will hear if like something hit the... Well, not even that, because, okay, for instance, if you turn this djembe upside down, and
Yeah.
put half of it under the water, and the rest, the empty part, is above. Then if you hit it in the water, like from under, you will still hear the part while vibrating inside the empty part, as if like a ship. If you hit the side of a ship, because it's empty inside, you will still hear that like blue, like that vibration.
Okay, so it should be turned upside down?
Yeah, the hole, the lid,
It's up.
it's up.
So it's hit from underneath,
yeah,
and half is outside the water. Half of the djembe,
yeah,
or
maybe
apart.
just the top, so that no water comes in.
Okay.
But I guess like
I can experiment with that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what could be also very interesting is like if you just, since the bottom of the djembe is the only open part, like if you put it in directly like that, like without any angle, no water will come in there.
No.
Because of physics, because there's no place that water can go.
Yeah.
Or air can go. So if no air leaks, the water can't come in. And if you somehow manage to put the whole djembe with 90 degrees down, and then you can do the same, but the whole djembe will be underground.
Yeah, then probably I need to put less water. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe do it in like an aquarium or something like that. But I think that sound may be more interesting than the other one.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think...
Or you can also, what you can do is like you can just get a contact mic and put the contact mic on the djembe.
Yeah.
And then epoxy it around and then record it.
And then you will get just the non-watery sound, right? Or you will also get that?
I just thought of something cool. So if you somehow... Wow, that should be... Maybe I will try that. If you find like a small djembe...
I have.
You have a small djembe.
Yeah.
And if you seal the back part as well, like just close that up.
Okay.
So there's air inside.
Okay.
And then if you put contact microphones on the djembe, since there's air...
On both parts?
No, inside or outside.
Okay.
I think inside will be more interesting.
Yeah.
Then you have to find a way to put the cables, but it's okay. Since there's the membrane, all the water will hit the membrane, like all the water or the movements around. And you will get the sound of the body of djembe vibrating with the membrane, and then you will record that thing, which is also very interesting. Like, but one thing you can do is if you turn on a bottle like this, and then put a microphone in and put the bottle into the water, then you get a very specific sound with the manipulation of the bottle.
I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you use it with djembe, for instance, like that, it could be really interesting.
And the djembe will be submerged completely.
Yeah, but you have to seal so that there's air inside.
Yeah. Sealed. Yeah.
Like there should be air somehow, if you want to get like a cool sound, I guess.
But I can also use this.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And with the cable, I need to make a room to get the cable out somehow.
Yeah, for that epoxy is good.
Okay.
Because it seals. For instance, let's say you made a hole here, and then you put like a contact mic here.
Yeah.
Stick to it. And then you need to seal this hole and also here so that it doesn't get any water with the pressure. So you can do that with an epoxy glue.
Then it's fine.
Yeah.
It will be isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you for your time. Thank you for answering.
Inviting.
Yeah, no problem.
Coming.
Yeah, we'll have interesting results to share in the future time. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well.